It's just loading, so just a couple more seconds.
Okay.
I'm waiting for it to like get across the screen. And you are live.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. This is our third community conversation. I am Councilor Mejia. I'm Councilor at Large, Julia Mejia. I still stumble over that. I forgot who I was for a quick second. And my co-host today is? Annalise Cooper, who's my daughter. And today we're having an intergenerational conversation, really looking at the impact of coronavirus and COVID-19 on our entire community. So no matter which age group you happen to be in, know that the virus impacts us all. And when we mean all means all. So we're going to start. We have a very lively discussion today. We're asking everyone to join us. You are more than welcome to ask questions specifically to our panelists right below on our Facebook Live. And we have someone from our team, Jacob, most likely will be texting me what your questions are. So we'll be able to get you engaged and plugged into the dialogue. So I'm gonna start off with my colleague, Councilor Flynn. If you could share with us your name, the neighborhood that you live in, the neighborhoods that you represent, and also if you could be anywhere in the world, where would you be and why?
Well, thank you, Councilor Mejia, and it's great to be with you and your daughter and the group here. We had an opportunity to talk earlier, and glad to be part of this discussion with your guests. My name is Ed Flynn. I'm the district councilor from District 2, which includes the neighborhoods of South Boston, the South End, Chinatown, the Bay Village. I represent most of downtown Boston and a little bit of Back Bay and Beacon Hill. It's a diverse district. It's very wealthy, and there's high concentration of poverty as well. I represent one of the largest immigrant communities in the city. I represent the most residents living in public housing as well. So I'm proud to represent District 2, and I'm so glad to have you as a colleague on the city council. I'm learning a lot from you, and it's been a great discussion since January on issues that we really care about, and that's about helping people in need, helping our immigrant neighbors. And then if I could be anywhere, or if I could take a vacation anywhere, two places I always wanted to go. One is France. I've never been to France. I always wanted to go to Paris and visit Paris with my wife. And the second place is I've never been to Puerto Rico either. And I always wanted to visit San Juan. Boston has a lot of strong roots and connections with Puerto Rico. I also represent a large Puerto Rican community as well in Villa Victoria in the South End. So I think over the next year or the next 2 years, I'll visit both San Juan and Paris. So I'm looking forward to it. And when I do, I'll send you a postcard.
Yeah, please do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the dialogue, and I'm really grateful for our partnership and working alongside you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going next to Miriam. If you could introduce yourself, let us know who you are, what neighborhood you represent, and if you could be anywhere, where would you be and why?
That's great. So Miriam Messinger, I live in Roslindale, and I did live for about 25 years in Eggleston Square. So that's still a part of my identity, and just shifting neighborhoods, but still sending out love to Eggleston Square. If I could be anywhere, there are two answers to that. One is right where I am, because there are pieces that I'm really loving that we'll get into later about my opportunity to spend more time with my kids than I would normally have. But what came to mind is Cape Verde. I used to work in Eggleston Square with an organization called the City School, and just a large, vibrant Cape Verdean community, and don't know it from close up, and would love to visit and spend some time there and enjoy the warmth.
Yeah, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna go to Miss Shirley. And we're gonna go off mute, there we go. Oh, well, can we let Miss
For that later.
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you. Hello to everybody. Hello to this beautiful queen that you have as a co-host today. Hi, Louise. Beautiful. God bless you. Well, I am known as Miss Shirley. I'm Shirley Jones. I'm from Dorchester. I am from the Meeting House Hill section of Dorchester. I am currently the president of our neighborhood civic association, the Meeting House Hill Civic. I am also currently on the board of our Bowdoin Geneva Main Street. So I stay super active in my neighborhood. I'm proud to be a dot girl through and through.
Yes.
And where I would like to be right now, I would like to say Africa. I want to go to South Africa.
Okay.
And of course, I'm going to do like Councilman Ed Flynn. When I get there, I'm going to send you all a postcard.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here to be a part of this today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so Annalise wants to pick the next person. Annalise?
Carrie May.
Okay. So you got to get off mute there.
Can you guys hear me good?
Yes.
Perfect. So my name is Carrie. I'm 19 years old. I'm from the Dorchester/Roxbury area. I'm from Grove Hall. I am currently a freshman at UMass Boston, and I am majoring in business management with the concentration of marketing and minoring in political science. But most importantly, I am an activist. I'm a local activist in my community. Right now, I am a youth organizer for Boston Community Action Team. So there's a lot going on in my life, but that's a little piece about me. And if I had anywhere to be in the world, I would have to say I agree with Ms. Shirley, Africa, like, you know, going back to the motherland. There's something about, you know, learning your history and actually being where the motherland is. So yeah, definitely would have to take that trip to Africa. And I've never been outside the country, so yeah.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Carrie. I'm gonna go to Miss Paola.
Hi.
Hi.
So my name is Paola Garcia, and I live currently in Hyde Park. And I used to live in Rosendale, which I love. But right now I am in Hyde Park, and I really love to advocate for seniors. For me, that's one of the more, it's just a strong community who need a lot of services. And I just call myself as a great supporter for seniors.
And if you could be anywhere right now, where would you go?
I will definitely go back to Dominican Republic. I love that island. My husband is from there, and I love their people. I love the place, the food, everything. And I will also send you a postcard.
Okay, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So we're gonna go to you next, Annalise.
Hi, my name is Annalise Cooper. I'm 10 years old. I live in Dorchester.
And if you could be anywhere,
And if I could be anywhere, it would be in 2 different places. Or 3. It would be in my house because I like being in my house. It would be in Dominican Republic too, with my grandfather, because we went there for my birthday and we had a lot of fun. And I would also, in a little bit, probably like when my best friend moves, I want to go to Florida because my best friend's moving to Florida and I want to be able to be there with her.
okay, excellent. Good. So I'll go next. I don't know if I said what place I would be in. I think, you know, like I've never been to Paris either. I've never been to Europe in any country outside of, you know, I've been to the Caribbean. I would go to Europe. I'd check out Italy and Spain and do a little tour of Europe and cause some ruckus out there. So yeah, that's where I would be. It's funny because we talk about traveling, and I think that under these circumstances, we see the restrictions, right? Like, for instance, even traveling to the supermarket is an ordeal, as before it was something that we took for granted, and now everything has changed. And I'm hoping and praying that we find our way back. And I wouldn't say back to normal, because I don't think normal is where we want to go back to. I think we want to go back. What we want to do is go forward to another way of living and another way of being. And that's really what I'm hoping for post COVID-19, is that we move forward in a very different way. So this conversation, as I mentioned, is going to focus on giving people an insight of what it's like across generation, right? And so I really kind of want to start off with Miss Shirley. There's now people are Zooming and video conferencing and FaceTiming. From an elder's perspective, I'd love for you to kind of help us understand how has COVID-19, when you first heard about it, what did you think? First, let's just start off with that. When you first heard about the coronavirus and the age group that it was impacting, can you share with me what were your initial thoughts?
Sure. And thank you, Julia, for having me to be a part of this panel. It helps me to talk about this, and thank you. When I first heard about COVID-19, I really honestly didn't think it was that serious. I thought it was an pandemonium in China. I thought they would get control of it in China. I never thought it would spread across the world the way it has. I'm hitting home here directly. And when I say home here directly, I'm speaking honestly and openly about my very own home. I'm taking it serious. Once it hit the United States, I'm taking it very serious. I'm not letting anyone in my house. I was not going to let my family couldn't come in. Nobody could come in. Off limits to everyone, because I was afraid, I was frightened, and I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. And I know in my age group, we need to be very careful. And with some of the underlying issues that I had medically, I had to take care of myself. And if it meant I couldn't see my grandchildren with tears at my heart, they are the love of my life. My family is the extreme love of my life. Everybody who knows Miss Shirley knows that. And I couldn't put myself in harm's way, and I couldn't put them in harm's way because I didn't have any clarity. But being the type of person I am in the line of work that I do, I deal with a lot of social service agencies, and one in particular, I have young people that's placed in my home. And as a result of me opening up my door to one of the agencies to allow this young person to come into my home, I was later told 8 days later after the fact that I had been exposed, and I had come in contact with one of the social workers who had tested positive for COVID-19. That was devastating to me. I protected myself. I kept my family away as much as possible, and to open my door to be of service, to be helping another individual, and then becoming a victim and held hostage. I had to go into quarantine, and I wanted to go get tested. I couldn't go get tested. Yeah. My healthcare provider told me I needed to stay in my house. I had to do phone screening. I had to call on the phone, be placed on hold. And after that person screened me and talked to me, I had to wait for another caller, a COVID nurse, to call me back, did the phone screening. And at that point, I'm asking, can I come in? Can I come in to be tested? She said, no, there's no cure. There's no pill. There's no medicine. The only thing we can tell you to do at this time is to take care of yourself as best as possible. You have minor symptoms. If your symptoms get any worse, call 911 and have 911 take you to the nearest hospital.
Yep.
To me, that was devastating.
Yeah, I could imagine. And thank you for being so open with your journey with us and for sharing what it was like. I see that we have someone, Helen, that has joined us. No, that's
my sister, Helen Jordan.
Okay, thank you. We got a surprise guest that I didn't know. Hey, Helen. All right, so I'm gonna go on to Carrie. Just kind of like when you first heard of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. I mean, one of the things that we heard in the early stages was that it was impacting the elder community, right? And so hearing that, can you talk to us about what it was like for you to hear it, but knowing that your age demo wasn't at risk in the early stages? Can you talk to me about what was going on through your mind and maybe some of your peers? What was the sentiment?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like a lot of people and a lot of young people, well, specifically for the young people that were around me, like my friends, we didn't take it seriously. And because they kept on saying that in the earlier stages, it only impacts older people. But then I had to take back and self-reflect, like, wait a minute, there's a lot of old people in my life that if I don't take this seriously, then it's going to seriously impact the elders that are in my life.
Yeah.
Like, especially like my grandparents are like within the age ranges of 70 to 80 years old. But I felt like a part of the reason why we didn't take it serious is because society didn't take it serious. And not only didn't society take it serious, but like schooling officials didn't take it serious. I go to UMass Boston, and one of the UMass Boston students was the first coronavirus case in the whole entire state.
Yeah.
Our first case of coronavirus in Massachusetts was a UMass Boston student. And the school was still in session. They told us professors told us that we should still come to school. Yeah. That I actually went to the doctors, and my doctor told me that it wasn't that much of a serious issue. I should be worrying more about the flu and getting the flu vaccine than worrying about the coronavirus. And so everybody around me and the adults around me were treating this like a minor issue.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think some people from a socioeconomic status, they don't have the capacity to take it seriously. Because I was working at Mad Rag up the street in Grove Hall, and I was like, how am I going to help support my family? I live in a house full of 6 siblings. I am one of the oldest of 6 siblings. So I help contribute to my household. So I'm like, I still have to work. I can't even imagine how it must feel for the young people. The majority of my friends that are essential workers, well, I call them sacrificial workers, are working.
Yeah.
9 to 5. So a part of the young people didn't really take it serious because we didn't know to take it serious. We weren't presented with actual facts. We weren't presented with actual numbers. I mean, every single day we hear something new about the coronavirus, that it can travel in this way, or now it can impact this age, or, and I felt like it was a huge shock to me that it was mostly impacting Black and brown communities, because every day we're looking at the news and it's just mass confusion. I'm seeing a bunch of numbers, I'm seeing a bunch of colorful graphs that people are not explaining to me in my household. So how are we supposed to know who are within those demographics, who are a part of those statistics? It was us.
That's right. Thank you for that. I'm going to go to Paola. I know, Paola, you work with a lot of the adult health care facilities for our elders. Wondering, what were you hearing from the community that you serve when you kept hearing on the news that elders were the ones who were most impacted? What was happening for a lot of the elders that you serve?
Well, for me, every day is something new. Like today, I was just listening to the other person, and I can't stop thinking about what happened this morning when I was talking to one of the facilities, the senior facilities that normally I will come and bring them Zumba class or different type of activities. He told me, Paola, I'm sorry. I asked him, can I bring a musical, a performance outside the building? And he said, you know what, at this point, I regret to say no, because I have 7 new cases today in this building. And this is here, Jamaica Plains, seniors, in one building where it's only, I believe it's 85 apartments. And all out of those 85 apartments, 7 seniors are infected, or they become positive to the coronavirus. And it's not only that one. Every day we learn that we have people from the adult day health in the hospital. It's they went home, they stay, the governors allowed or tell them to go to the houses, not to go back to any other program. But even in their houses, they got infected with this virus. So it's been very, very hard for them. And especially I also represent an insurance, as an insurance part. Even for us, it's been very hard to work with these cases, because we're trying to provide for them what they need. But even if we're trying to call them and find out what are those needs, they're afraid to open the door. They're afraid to even take anything from someone who comes outside and bring their food or bring the medicines, everything. It's very, I never thought that we're gonna have this huge issue for the seniors. I feel that we didn't prepare at all and enough to handle this issue. At this point, it's not time to blame anybody, but I feel that we have to advocate stronger for our senior community, because I heard, thanks God, we have a lot of people who are advocating for families, for children, but for seniors, it's been horrible. It's just very sad to see they don't have the attention they really need. Like you see, you go to any facility and they don't have even the case managers, the resident coordinators. They don't have anybody to help them get anything. So how can we help them? That's my real concern. How can we help them? How can we help them more to get what they really need?
Yeah. Thank you for that. And Elisa is really itching to go here, so I'm gonna have to use the moderator's privilege and allow her to go next. You want to share with the audience what has it been like for you as a 10-year-old to leave school, leave your friends, learn from home? What has this transition been like for you? And trust me that I don't know what's going to come out of her mouth, so I take no responsibility for any of it. And I'll deny it too, just so you all know.
It's good.
Go ahead. So you want to share with us what has it been like for you?
Well, for me at first, when we were still in school and just in general, me and my friends, we would always talk and we wouldn't think of it as a big deal. Like people in my school, we would make jokes about it and like we'd find it funny and stuff, but we never really thought about it. And our teachers were taking a lot of notice of it and were telling us that it's serious and that we can't be making jokes about it because a lot of people are losing their lives to this. And for me not to be able to go to school and see my friends, it makes me feel kind of bad, because at first we were making jokes about it and it's come to this, to the point that we can't see each other and it's so bad that we have to do class online. And I think that for me, it's really sad because my grandma's been like really upset about all this stuff, and it makes me sad seeing my grandma, because my grandma watches the news. And when she watches the news, hearing what's happening always makes her cry, and it makes me really upset too. And I was talking on the phone with one of my friends from soccer, and her dad has the coronavirus, and she did not know, so she was with him, but great, she does not have it. But she was really upset when they told her that her dad does have it, and she's not going to be able to see him.
It's hard. Yeah, I have to say that, my mom was laid off, I think probably like 3 weeks ago now. And, we bought a 2-family, so she lives downstairs. So I'm really fortunate that we all live in one house. And so my mom is downstairs. My brother and I share this other side here. So she has her kids with her. So that provides some comfort. But my mom has been really depressed because, her whole life. She's been working at she's a food handler, has been working at the same place for 23 years. She's so used to her routine. Financially, she's really worried, even though she's able to collect unemployment. It's a very different, financial situation. But then what is really irresponsible of the news is everything that our elders are seeing are just doom and gloom, and that the whole world is coming to an end, and every day they show the numbers of how many people are dying. So it's hard for people to believe and have hope when everything that they're seeing in the news is telling them otherwise. And I think that she's falling victim to that sadness. And so we've been trying really hard here in this household to do yoga and to do dances and to try to, next thing I'm going to have her do is start a cooking show for us, teaching people how to cook rice and beans, just to find ways for her to disconnect. But that's my mom, and I'm lucky that she's able to have us, but I worry about those elders who don't have anyone to check in on them. And those are the elders that I really do feel we have a responsibility to. And I'm gonna send it over to Councilor Flynn to share a little bit about when you first heard about the coronavirus, what was going on through your mind. And if you could just help us also understand some of the stuff that you have been doing, Councilor, as a result of this to help support those that you serve.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor. And it was very informative learning from your other guests here about their experiences. Listening to people, you really learn more about how this impacts so many families across our city, different age groups, different ethnic backgrounds. As Carrie mentioned, she was a student at UMass Boston. I've been working on this since January, early January, representing Chinatown in downtown Boston area. The South End is a large Chinese community as well. But that's the first place that the disease, coronavirus, started.
Yeah.
And my community in Chinatown was very nervous, very, very concerned. And we had the first public health hearing in early January, I believe, or mid-January, at the Josiah Quincy School. And we had someone from public health explain what is happening. At that time, there was only one case, as Carrie mentioned, one case in Boston. But representing a community that a large number of people that don't speak English, in a large population of people that are undocumented as well, presented challenges. I'm lucky. I have 5 people on my staff. 4 of them are immigrants, and they're 4 women of color. 3 are from China, and 1 is from the Dominican Republic. So our biggest issue we're focused on is communicating with people in Cantonese and Mandarin and in Spanish. Mm-hmm. So we've been lucky. We've been able to contact all the seniors in my district. We're still working on it, but we've been calling them up, asking how they're doing, listening to them. I think there's going to be some major issues. I was talking about that today at the public school hearings, but mental health issues for our young people and for our seniors when this is over, especially getting people the right family counseling or mental health counseling is critical. So that was the first I've heard of it, was at that location. My wife and I have 2 teenagers at home, and we're doing the homeschooling like other parents are, and working with their schools. But it's challenging. It's difficult keeping your child focused for 7 or 8 hours a day. And then for the elderly population, as I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of outreach. But I also have my parents are still with us, thank God, and they're in their 80s. And this coronavirus really impacts and hurts the elderly, especially. And going up to the supermarket
Mhm.
The elderly, the seniors have to be very careful interacting with people. They have to be very careful. But I'm so glad that there's a stay home order
Yeah.
in place for almost everybody, because that is the most effective way to prevent it. But as Shirley mentioned, she had one visitor, a social worker, counselor, and probably had a very brief conversation, but you can catch it easily from that type of exposure or interaction with people. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, Councilor, too, is representing, a large number of immigrants. A lot of them live the generational in terms of the parents and the grandparents and the children. So you might have 3 generations of a family living in the same room. That's not the same room, the same house. And the child might go to school or go to the park. This is earlier when it first came out, and then exposing the parent or the grandparent, especially, to the coronavirus. So that's challenging. Also, I represent, as you know, public housing, that we both do a lot of work on public housing. And for elderly in public housing and persons with disabilities, you're almost locked in your room. You can't get out. You can't even go into the hallway because that's where a lot of people are passing through. So it presents a lot of challenges and problems for so many, but especially for our seniors, persons with disabilities, our immigrant neighbors. Communities of color have been hit very hard on this disease as well. So we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Especially over the next 2 weeks, but it's critical that we continue to educate people on what they need to do.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I want to just, before I go over to Miriam, if you don't mind, Councilor Flynn, this is a surprise bonus. I'm just joking. But your dad was Ray Flynn, right? He was the
Yes.
mayor of the city of Boston and beloved mayor. And when was the last time that you got to see your dad? Did you see him recently? Well, I hope not, because unless it was from afar. But how's he doing?
My wife and I went by. We didn't go into the house. We said hello to them from outside, and they were in the house, so we're able to talk to them through the window, the screen area. But I usually go by to say hello, not in the house. Every couple, once a week or twice a week, but I talk to them on the phone as much as I can. But again, it's difficult for our seniors, especially a lot of seniors that are active too. They like to be outside. They like to walk. They like to get their exercise. They like to go to church. They like to go up to the library and talk to their friends. So for a lot of people, they can't do that. But that's what it takes to be safe, is almost a total lockdown, unfortunately. But I'm just so grateful that there's so many people that are looking out for our seniors and our persons with disabilities. But there's more work we have to do as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to go. Thank you for that. I'm going to go to Miriam. Miriam, you kind of are at the cross of the intersection of both age groups, right? You have a very unique position because you have kids who are a little bit older at home. You also have your mom. So just kind of want to share with us, what was it like when you first heard about the coronavirus? What was going on through your mind? Did you ever think we would get to this point? Kind of walk us through your journey.
Sure, thank you. And like others have said, it's really powerful just to hear from Paola and Shirley and Carrie and Councilor Flynn and Annalise.
And me.
And Councilor Mejia. So I think, like many, it took a little while to sink in. And I think it was just before some of the, what we like to call physical distancing and not social distancing, really kicked in early to mid-March. But no, I never thought it was that I would live through something like this. I couldn't have imagined it. And I found myself on the phone pretty much daily with my daughter, who lives in Bushwick in Brooklyn, talking, and I was so impressed. She was coming up with really good plans. She's 24. She was very clear with her roommates, who are also friends, and they were organizing their household. She was sending me the shopping list. Here's what you need to have prepared. And I was actually like, Annalise, like you, joking a little bit. I was like, oh, I just went out shopping. Now we're eating it all. And she said, no, the point of buying all that food is so you can save it for when you need it and you can't go out shopping. I was like, oh, okay, thank you for educating your mom. And then within literally 48 hours, one day she called and she said, I'm actually thinking about leaving New York. And two of her roommates, their parents, they're in that age where they're definitely independent, and parents are still really critical. So their parents had called them from California and from New Mexico and said, leave New York. As it was clear that New York City was which is, my original hometown, was going to be an epicenter for this. And so within 48 hours, she had packed up her life. She still has an apartment there that she's paying rent. Her job is there, but she has the benefit and the privilege. So part of what I want to talk to is like what it means to recognize the incredible disparities, and that at the one time, this disease affects us all, or has the potential, but is impacting us so differently.
That's right.
And so for her, she is working for a tech firm, and she has the ability to work remotely. Their lives are changing unbelievably. But anyway, she called and said, I was like, of course you can come. So she moved up here and we wanted her to quarantine. So she came, now it'll be about 19 days ago. We did a strict quarantine. I gave her my room because that was a room that had a bathroom attached. I moved into my son's room. My son moved in onto the couch just so that we could mix it up. We were all very happy to have her. She's bringing, more light and excitement to the household. And that's what I was saying earlier, is that it's one of the reasons I would pick the place I want to be as home, is because when do I have the privilege of having this much time with my 16-year-old son, my 24-year-old daughter? They're just not usually either in the city of Boston or in the house this much. And so part of me, as I'm juggling that and work, which is pretty stressful, is to not get so wrapped up in it, to say, I'm not going to take that time to just have a smile or break for lunch and eat lunch with my kids. We only have today. Yesterday, I found out that an acquaintance, a classmate from my high school, died. He was in Atlanta, so not here, but a year older than me. I'm mid-50s. So I think I, like many others, when I heard that it was mostly affecting older people, had a little bit of that sense of invincibility, and recognizing, no, all that means is you're more likely to catch it. Any of us can catch it if we're not careful. Any of us can spread it. And the other thing is, both my kids have underlying asthma. And so I'm like very attentive to them. We've been very strict, and not having anybody else in the household. We did have one drive-by visitor, which is a very fun. I recommend that. Julia was asking for tips. I recommend that as a tip. If you have a car and can be safe, go visit your friends, give them a call, tell them to come to the window, because it just like lifts the spirits. It was very, really fun. But I would say my son, who's chosen not to be on this call, goes to a very well-resourced private school in the city. Are you gonna, here he is. Wait, come in.
Yay. Thank you for joining us
For
for a brief minute.
The benefit is, so we're seeing the disparities as friends who go to any public school, even the most resourced ones, and certainly not the least resourced ones, are just like getting homework packets and are being told to do some set of work. I think he has the benefit of having a lot of attention, so I don't actually have to, counselor like you, I don't have to homeschool him. On the other hand, there's a lot of stress. He's on the computer, like he has a regular wake up, he goes to homeroom, he goes to all his classes, he's on from, and Elisa's shaking her head, nodding her head. from 8:30 till about 2:30. And then, of course, like many people his age, one of the things he likes to do is play computer games. So I'm feeling badly about, then he finishes school on computer and then he goes and plays games.
Yeah.
He does have cooking responsibilities and cleaning responsibilities. So it is teaching some, I think he had them before, but they're stricter now, and particularly when his sister was in quarantine, he knew he had to step it up. So I'd be like, you're in charge of delivering lunches, because we were delivering 3 meals a day. He's in the background looking very proud of himself. And I send him great thanks and love because he was amazing. I see my daughter, who's just has one thing I want to say, and then I feel like I'm going on too long, but is there's the day-to-day, and somebody talked about the mental health impacts. I don't as much worry about myself, although I do find myself very nervous whenever I have to go to a store. But it's one thing to be a parent and take care of kids day to day. Like I can do the cooking, I can manage all that stuff. It's scary for me and I'm sure for them, and we haven't talked about it as much as we could, about what is like tomorrow and next week and next month and 6 months from now really look like. We don't want to go back to the inequities of the past, but we don't know what the future looks like. My daughter, for one, doesn't know when she's going back to her apartment and her home. She's grateful to have a place here, but she doesn't know when she gets to go back. And I'm finding it hard as a parent to know, and Annalise, I'm saying this in front of you, darling, maybe I shouldn't.
She's used to this.
Like what does it mean to be a parent and to offer that safety? But no, we can't really offer full safety. It's a worrying and just very odd time.
Yeah, it definitely.
Did that answer your question, Julia?
Yeah, and you answered all the questions that I was gonna have for you, so we're done with you for the segment of the show. Not just joking. No, but thank you for that. You were about to, but you didn't really dive into the conversation about the stark differences between people who have the privilege of being able to work from home, elders who may have people at home caring for them. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what the haves and the have-nots, like, and it's not just around finances. It's also it's also about your family, people who have and have not. Like, I really want people to understand that no matter what age group you happen to be in, everyone is experiencing that sense of loss, and and that sense of loss is bigger for some folks based on whatever circumstances they happen to find themselves in. So I'm gonna go to Ms. Shirley first. And your question, what I really would love for our viewers to understand is, like, you're a very active senior, you're the board of chairs of this, that, or the other. So you're already a busy bee, right? And I'm going to assume you probably already knew how to use Zoom. And if you didn't, I'd love to know how you learned how to use it. But like that, and you're lucky because you are plugged in. But can you help us understand what it would be like for other seniors who are not as savvy as you, and what has this transition been like for you, even not to be able to see your grandchildren? So if you can take yourself off of mute and kind of help us understand what it's like to be you right now.
Well, as always, my grandchildren is just the love of my life. I say that over and over again, and everybody who knows Miss Shirley already knows, it's like a broken record. Oh no, she's getting ready to talk about her grandchildren. Okay, but I'm not that savvy when it comes to the tech world, but I learned real fast being a senior, because I needed to be out here to see my grandchildren. And in order for me to see them, I had to learn how to get on a Zoom conference. So I had my daughter walk me through it, and other friends are doing Zoom conferences with me. So us seniors don't have to be bored. We're learning. We're plugging each other in, and we're using the younger people to help us. Now, my grandkids and I actually do Zoom. We use Zoom to do line dancing. So I get to connect with them that way. And the other people in my life, I'm using Zoom so we can have meetings together. I have a group of girlfriends in my social network, and we do Zoom. We go through the Bible. We may go through spiritual journals. We just do whatever it takes to just make us feel complete. So I'm doing it. What I do for the other seniors, like myself, who are not as savvy as me, and I know they're not because they're in my community with me, I actually use the phone.
Yeah.
They don't do Zoom. They don't do internet. They barely don't text. So I use my phone and then I call them up. And before I had to be quarantined for COVID-19, I would actually walk. I walk my community a lot. I love to walk. You see me walking all over the community. Everybody know, up there's Miss Shirley. She's walking the community. I would actually call them on their phone and be like, hi, I'm walking by your house. And they would come out to their windows and they'd come on the porch and we'll wave and we'll talk to each other. And that's how I did it, to keep them on track, to know that you're not alone.
That's right.
And we have people in our community that will call our seniors. We actually call our seniors now and be like, okay, what do you need? Whatever. But I got to give a shout out to Julia and her team. When I first found out that I had to be quarantined, that I was like COVID-19 mild symptoms, I was terrified. And I called Julia's office, and it would bring tears to my eyes. I'm a chicken soup type of gal here. But Julia and her team was like conference calling. They're like, we got you. We got you. You do so much for everybody else. Let us do something for you. Julia, I love you. You know I do. And they had me. And I was able to stay in the house and not freak out because my family couldn't come to me. My family couldn't come. They're where they're at. They're dealing with their children. But I thank God that I have a resource, and that was Julia. Thank you, sweetheart.
Always, always. And we were all fighting for who was gonna go there and take care of you. And we were all like, no, I'll do it. Everybody was like, no, I'll do it. So, and I'm so glad that so here's one thing too, is that I'm gonna go to Paola next, but one thing that I really wanna uplift is that oftentimes we don't reach out for help. And sometimes we suffer in silence. And I'm so glad that you reached out to us and you were very specific with what it was that was going on, what it was that you needed. And I'm so glad that you were able to do that. And I'm really hoping that more people who need help will feel comfortable asking for it. And I think that this is where I feel like we need to step up, because there might be some people who may never call us, but we know that they need us, and we may just have to do it for them just because they're not ready, willing, or able to do that. So, you know, let's keep doing that for each other. Paola, so if you can help us really understand what a day is like for some of the elders who are so disconnected, who don't know how to use Zoom, who are home alone. Help us really understand that world.
So I wanted to share with you an experience that we have like 6 months ago. We started to notice that seniors need to learn how to use their cell phones, how to use a little bit more of technology. So the company that I work, which is TAF, decided to sponsor the technology classes, sponsor them, and many of them are able to finish the classes and get a computer. So now we're very happy that we did it as a company and in partnership with other places, because they're using the computer right now to get into YouTube, follow videos for exercise, follow videos for cooking classes, like they say, and even the programs that we work close, which is Adults Day Health, they provide all this material for free because no one is paying them right now, and they just put all this information together, and they're able to access through the computer, or those who doesn't have a computer, they just build up a WhatsApp group so they can still see the videos through the WhatsApp. They still call it every day. I work with, I would say, about 200 seniors a week, from everywhere. And they still call every day from different places to say, hey, I'm so glad that I am in that WhatsApp group, because I'm able to pray with someone else. I'm able to talk to someone. It's just such a long day at home. Yeah. I don't even know what else to do or where to go, because they don't even allow them. I think someone else also mentioned this before, but in the seniors building, they don't allow to let them go even in the halls. So they had to stay inside their apartments. So with that being said, I think it's just, for them, it's overwhelming to be at the apartment, but being able to have some kind of access to the technology, like cell phones or computer, it make it a little easier. Now, it is a challenge for most of them, but you know what? It's so much fun when you're able to connect with them and teach them just to open the computer and just tell them, here, just open the computer, press this button and go here, and then you will be able to see. They're so happy. They feel so much appreciation when we do that. So it is a challenge, but I think they're just willing to learn. And if they can't because they have a condition, they're willing to just listen to you and do it again until one day they say, hopefully one day I will get there. But even that day never happens, they're still willing to, take it as a learning.
Yeah, I want to, and what this conversation is really helping me think through, and also something that Miriam sent me via the chat earlier. And we started to touch upon it, but we really didn't dive in it that much. But I really I want to get into a little bit more about the disparities that exist with access, because not everybody has access to computers. Not everyone has the privilege of being able to work from home. There are a lot of disparities that exist already, even before this, the virus. And now we're seeing it more as a result of this virus, and we're seeing it show up in different communities in different ways. So I'm gonna have Miriam talk a little bit about those disparities, because I know you work in that space too. So can you talk a little bit, Miriam, about some of the disparities that you have seen and how it spans across different, not just race, but also socioeconomic status and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I think really some of the public data really started becoming available just 7 to 10 days ago. And I want to thank your office for publishing some of the charts from Boston Public Health Commission and showing the data. I want to thank BPHC for actually collecting it and sharing it. Sometimes people are afraid of data, and it has to be used well, because sometimes those kind of inequities get blamed on the communities that are hardest hit, and that's absolutely not why we want to see the data. But I would say before that, I think there was this universal messaging, which doesn't help in trying to get us to more equity of like, this affects us all. So on the one hand, yes, everybody stay home, stay safe, stay physical distancing, stay connected in all the ways. But on the other hand, if we don't know the truth of the data, we're not going to be effective. And I would say it started coming out, it was of zero surprise, probably to most of the people on this call, or everybody on this call, and most of the people listening, that of course it was just going to highlight the inequities in our city in terms of, like you said, who has to go to work just to be able to put food on the table, or whose work is not, if they don't show up, there's no option of working virtually, whose communities do and don't have access to good food and places that they can go buy the food that are not overly crowded, who doesn't have access to housing security, who has access to medical care, who has pre-existing conditions. So I just want to say, like, I think that racism is a factor in who gets this disease, not one's race, but the reality of racism. because that's why those are some of the conditions that have caused the underlying conditions that make people more vulnerable. So I want to say it's so important to get the data and so important to then talk about it in thoughtful ways. But like I said, I'm seeing it in terms of my kids are both people of color and they have access to resources, right? They go to schools or work where they can have access, but we need to be thinking about it. And in my work, we're working with organizations around racial equity change processes and how organizations and big health departments can be more equitable. And so one of the things that we're talking about and I'm seeing is this is absolutely not the time to stop paying attention to equity and to change work and to fairness and to love. Like this is the time to really expand this. But it is a time of fear, and we know that people can get afraid or people can get really tight around our budgets are being slashed. You know, I work for a nonprofit. We're trying to map out a plan so that we don't go under, so that we don't go out of business and lose jobs for all the people who are working for us, as well as not being able to offer. So just a little bit to get that conversation started, because I know everybody has thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'd love, thank you for that. I'd love to go to Carrie, because I know Carrie, she talks about being an activist. She's like the ultimate activist. I think she came out as a fighter since she was a kid. I've known her for a long time. It feels like I've known her forever, but I've only known her for maybe 4 or 5 years, and I have seen her grow into such an amazing activist. And every time that I have seen her, she's always been fighting for racial justice and fighting. But now let's talk about the data. Let's talk about, as a young person, knowing that our communities are at the highest risk and being hardest hit. How have you responded in a very entrepreneurial way to kind of like take matters into your own hands? You want to talk a little bit about what you're doing and how you are taking a stand and taking control of the situation, knowing the lack of equity that exists in our communities?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for the shout out. And you inspired me, Julia, doing this work. Like, you know, there's a reason why the universe brings together people. And I believe that, you know, we were meant to meet each other. And I just want to say, yeah, I feel like as a young person, and especially as a young Black woman of color, this has impacted my life, you know, drastically. I'm going to get a little bit personal, but, you know, the more personal we become, the more united we become. And I feel like I was working at Mad Ag in Grove Hall, and I got a call a week ago that I got laid off. And I'm like, wow, so how am I supposed to help contribute to my household? And not only have I gotten laid off, but the rest of my siblings who are above the age of 18 got laid off too. So that's a whole, that was a huge loss to me. And I felt like, so how do we look at the challenges that we're facing and ask for solutions? How do we look at these challenges from a solution-oriented perspective? And I was tired of just like, especially as an activist, I don't want to sit and watch. I'm not the type of person to watch a catastrophe happen if I know that I can prevent it. Mm-hmm. And so the one thing, I was watching P. Diddy's live, which was the Black Town Hall about coronavirus and state of emergency. And that live was very, very inspiring. And he was saying,
oh no, I don't know if it's my end.
I believe Carrie's temporarily frozen. Yeah.
Oh, okay. She'll be back. Okay.
Hopefully.
Can you just give her a quick little nudge and let her know that she's probably talking to herself right now, because you know how you don't know that you're not on. Mami, tú puedes subir, no te preocupes. Sube, que nada más estamos grabando aquí un show. No te preocupes. Okay, I'm texting her. I'm texting Carrie, y'all, just so you know. Don't think I'm.
I think she's back.
Can you guys hear me? I'm so sorry. What's the last thing you guys heard me say?
We heard you talking about P. Diddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, good. So yeah, I was watching the P Diddy live with the town hall, the Black town hall, and talking about how it's impacting communities of color. And I felt like he said something. He said that once we realize that wealth is just important as our health, then we can look at this pandemic in a very different way. And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, there are social and economic inequities that are forcing black and brown people on the ground to work versus at home to work. Um, a lot of my friends have to work these essential jobs. When you look at who's working these essential jobs, what are the demographics of them? It's a lot of black and brown people, and especially black and brown youth. And so, and I started to think not everybody has the financial capacity and privilege to work from home. And so how do we turn social distancing into social solidarity? How do we reframe the way we think about social distancing? So I was thinking about people who have to work on the ground. And so what I did was I created, me and my dad created a company where we started selling and making face masks and hand sanitizer for an affordable price. So I have a little sample right here. This is the hand sanitizer. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah. We've been making these, just pumping large quantities of hand sanitizer. This lady actually ordered 100 hand sanitizers from us the other day because she runs like an elderly development. And I have people like nurses, doctors contacting me, calling me to like buy face masks, and I'm selling them at affordable prices. I'm not the type of person to think that, oh, this is the perfect time to benefit off of people's vulnerability in a pandemic. No, this is the perfect time to provide resources for my community and protection equipment for my community, because I know every store that me and my dad have went to, there's no face mask, there's no hand sanitizers, and when you live in the hood, you are constantly at a drought. Same thing goes for food. So I wanted to be solution orientated about the challenges that I was seeing, and instead of just sitting there and talking about the problem, I wanted to be a part of the solution. So we've been selling these, like, and they're not like, ranky danky face masks. They're actually like fashion printed. These are only $10. The hand sanitizer is only $5. And people are like, oh, you guys are gonna get rich, like as if we're some rich pharmaceutical company like Lysol. No, that's not what it is. What I have to explain to people is the profits that we receive from the hand sanitizer and the face mask is being reinvested back into making more material and buying more material so that we can make more for the community. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And also on the activism side, I've been working alongside with Boston Community Action Team. It's a nonprofit organization under teen empowerment, where our job is, as it's a coalition of young people who try to get young people from the ages of 14 to 21 civically engaged in the community. How do we increase the amount of civic engagement amongst young people in our community? How do we get more young people registered to vote? How do we get more young people, not young people, but in families, to fill out the census? So lately, what Boston Community Action Team has been doing, we've been hosting these lives, like Julia, shout out to you for inspiring us as well. And we host these lives every Tuesday from 3 to 4. And it's just really a space where we create a conversation about how the coronavirus has been impacting us, and how do we contribute to our community in a way where we're giving them resources. Another thing that I felt like that I see the disparity in is the violence. So a week ago, I'm gonna be honest, I live on one of the streets where gun violence has been predominant. And me and my sister were in the living room. We had our windows wide open, and there was gunshots. And me and my family ran out the living room, and we checked each other for wounds. And I'm like, wow, like we're in the middle of the pandemic, and yet gun violence in our community is increasing. That's a problem. And I feel like that's a challenge and a disparity we don't talk about enough. I was like, well, what about the disconnected youth? What about the homeless youth and youth that don't have anywhere to go? What about the youth who are involved in street and gang violence because they have no other way to go? I feel like there's been a lot of plans and policies put in place for BPS schooling and plans put in place for the city, but how do we deal with the violence in our communities? Because it's still happening.
That's
You
right.
know, we can't just say coronavirus is the only pandemic that's going on. I feel like the pandemic that's going on is that people are making racially blind policies and not realizing.
Oh, she froze again. So when Carrie comes back, we'll pick back up. Brady, if you could just tell her that I'm gonna move on to Paola, so when she comes back, we can just get her back into the. Oh, you're there. You want to finish up that thought, Carrie, before we move on to Paola?
Yeah. So what's the last thing you guys heard me say? I'm so sorry.
You were talking about all the disparities that exist with all the different issues. It's not just BPS, it's LGBTQ. There's also young people who are homeless, who are in college. Like,
yeah. So yeah, and I feel like what we need to do as community members, and not just as community members, but as humans first, is to assemble all the resources that we can. And like I was saying before, I feel like, you know, we're making all these policies and plans, but when we're making all these policies and plans, sometimes they come from an unconscious, racially blind place.
right.
That leaves Black and Brown communities left out. So how do we continue to bring the voices who are not being heard at the table? How do we continue to bring, you know, the challenge of violence still happening in our communities? Because how is social distancing happening, but guns are still popping off? That's not social distancing. And homeless youth on the streets. So I think, one, I just want to give a shout out to a lot of the activists like you, Julia Mejia, like Monica Cannon Grant, and a lot of other people who are providing resources for our community in this time. And I feel like another thing is how do
Another thing, you better wait. We got more people. Let me find out. That's enough. I'm not gonna silence the youth, but if you don't mind, because I know I told Paola I was gonna go to her next.
Definitely.
But I listen. I could stay here all day and listen to you because this is the conversation that so many people are not having, that we need to be having in a real way. And so I do appreciate you bringing it all in, and helping us see the different layers that exist when we're talking about racial disparities, economic disparities, because the struggle is real. I'm really happy to see that you really focused on a solution base, and you took this opportunity to really say, well, no, what can I do? So I thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you were inspired to do so. And at the end, we'll let people know how they can get at you with, if they want to purchase it. Okay, so we'll give you a plug at the end so you to be able to bring that back into the conversation. But I want to go, yes, that's right. I want to go to Paola real quick because in the same line of thinking, Paola also has been leading a charge to help support elders, especially elders who don't have access to food, because a lot of the adult daycare providers, the adult day centers would be able, the elders wouldn't be able to get at least all of their meals in one place. And that's what they would rely on. And now because they can't convene, we've had to, well, they have figured out a strategy to help address that issue for a lot of the elders who are at home without meals. And this is beyond Meals on Wheels because, you know, it's not enough and it's not culturally responsive. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Paola? And then after Paola speaks, I'm going to go to Councilor Flynn to talk a little bit about some of the things that he's been doing in his office as well. So after Paola, you're going to be next, Councilor Flynn. Okay, Paola. And you're on mute, and you're going to have to start all over again. Start from the top.
Okay. So first, thank you again. And second, I just wanted to make sure, to highlight something that's very important for us, which is Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is doing a great job in the community, but unfortunately, they don't have the diversity that people need right now. It is people from Hispanic people, Chinese people. Everyone has a different cultures, and different backgrounds, and we don't eat the same. They don't, I mean, it's all different. So based on that, and especially the now Meals on Wheels has been full capacity, we went and, knocks on some doors and trying to find partnerships with different programs, with food programs, stay programs, and are able to, we are able to put together this program that it provides food for seniors, and especially for 5 different ethnicities, which is the Latino, of course, is the one that I represent, but as well for Chinese, Vietnamese, Haitian, and I'm missing one more that I can't recall right now. Russian, right? The Europe, which it's a minority, but again, it's a big minority. Why? Because they are in a different places. They have the same needs with the food, but they cannot eat all the same food because they're seniors. They're used to their whole life for 70 years, 80 years. They've been eating their own food from their own culture. When now we can and bring something to them, sometimes they will take it, but they got sick. And again, it's just trying to make it or provide for their needs right now. They're at the end of their life. They work so hard their whole life to get something. And I think they deserve whatever we can do to help them to even provide their food they want, or provide whatever they need. I think they just deserve it because they work so hard. So we have this program that right now we just started to pilot with some small communities, with these communities with some a small amount of people. But we're hoping to get it, to grow it and a full capacity that we can serve up to 1,000 people. And right now we just, let them know that we are here for them, that we are starting this program with very few resources, but we wanted just to give to them whatever we can do to help them feel comfortable.
Yeah, thank you. And we're here to help. And Paola, if you could, towards the end of the show, let people know if they want to make a donation, if they want to provide you any resources, what they can do to help support it, okay? I'm going to go to, thank you for that. I'm going to go to Councilor Flynn. You want to talk a little bit? I know you guys have been making a lot of phone calls, reaching out to seniors. You want to talk a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing around, whether it be language access or food accessibility in the communities that you're serving?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Councilor. And my staff, but also my volunteers have been calling seniors in my district, checking in on them, but more importantly, listening to them. And just listening to what's on their mind, and being there if they have any concerns or questions. But we're making a lot of calls into the Asian community. We're making a lot of calls into the Latino, Latinx community as well, and to public housing residents throughout the district. But I wanted to highlight what you mentioned is language access.
Yeah.
Imagine being not able to speak English, maybe even having limited education, and not able to understand what is happening in today's society.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we take it for granted, but as your guest was saying, a lot of people don't have access to social media. They don't have access to a computer or a cell phone. And to be an immigrant or not to know the language during a pandemic is really the role of us, Councilor, is trying to reach those people that might not be able to get any valid or accurate information. The wealthy or the connected can always figure out a way or they do know a way of knowing exactly what's going on and how to get supplies. And, you know, and that's fine, but there's also a lot of other people out there that don't have the ability or the access to get, as your guests were saying, a mask or gloves
Yeah.
or food. How could you go food shopping if you don't have any money in your pocket? As Carrie was saying, her sisters were laid off and they're supporting her family. So there's a lot of injustice issues that we're seeing now because of this pandemic, but the community knew about these already before even this pandemic. For me personally, I learned a lot from your guests about different issues. And so it was more important that I listen to people and learning from them about what their experiences are. So I just wanted to say thank you to your guests for, educating me on the struggles of so many people as well. So I hope that information is helpful.
Yeah, no, it is. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I have to say, Councilor Flynn is my next door neighbor in the office.
Yeah.
So we've gotten to know each other really well. And he's such a great thought partner, and is deeply committed to racial and equity and issues that are impacting immigrants. And we actually just co-sponsored a hearing order, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, around language access, because we know a lot of the constituents that we serve are getting the information 2 or 3 days after, after it's already been out in English. And by the time we go to apply for it, that resource is no longer there or available to us. So we are tackling this issue around equity through the language access lens. But Councilor Flynn has been a big champion of language access way even before I even came onto the scene. So in many ways, I'm riding his coattails on this and just bringing my own little spin to it. But really, he is one of the biggest voices on the council when it deals with all things that are impacting the immigrant community, and language access has been one of his biggest things, so much so that he has his staff is the most diverse, I think, in the entire council. And when you talk about being committed to making sure that all voices are heard, he's such a great reflection of what that is. And so I'm really looking forward to partnering with him on this hearing order and making sure that we create space, and that it's beyond COVID-19, that this is really the new way of being, and how we make sure that people can understand and have access and information in a timely fashion, because we know it's a matter of life and death out here. And if we don't have the information, then it puts us at greater risk. So I'm going to go to Miss Shirley, and I know we have a few more minutes left. So Miss Shirley, we're gonna start the close out phase, right? So we'd love for you to share with us a tip or two that the elders that are listening, or hopefully that their children will send them the link so that they can watch this via their smartphones, or maybe they can hook them up with a computer. But what one or two tips, words of encouragement, or things that you would want us to know? Oh, Miss Shirley, you're muted. We can't hear you.
You muted me, Julia.
Oh,
okay.
Go ahead.
I would say stay prayerful. Please stay prayerful. There is hope at the other end of this. We will get through this together, but it's through prayer. And most importantly, continue to dance. Continue to dance.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever kind of dance or movement you like to do, just don't stop doing it. And I love you all. Stay blessed.
Yes, thank you, Miss Shirley. I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to Miriam, and then I'm gonna go to Carrie. Carrie, I want you to be ready to give us your Instagram handle. This is your marketing opportunity, so be ready to tell us how we can get in touch with you, okay? So Miriam, I'm gonna go next to you. Kind of like close us out. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What do you want to leave us with?
I love Miss Shirley's invitation to dance. It's been bringing me a lot of joy, and sometimes laughter to my children watching me dance. They don't know what a good dancer I am. But I think there's always a way in which we can tap into our own power. So however many resources that we have, and you've demonstrated this, Julia, over your lifetime, that we have a lot of power, power to mobilize others, power to bring good energy to our thinking. That doesn't mean we can't be sad and scared and depressed sometimes, but we have a lot. And when we don't have individually the strength, remember to lean on others in the community, reach out. And many of you are inspiring me to say, how can I step up my game and what else can I be doing for my neighborhood?
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to go to Carrie, and Carrie, this is your marketing opportunity. I want to see your, how we get a mask, how we link up with you so we can invest in can, make that money. Talk to us. And well, we can't hear you. Let me find out. You got to start all over again. Go ahead from the top.
I said, I got you. You need that? I got you. So I have hand sanitizers. We are selling hand sanitizers for only $5 a bottle. They come in the colors of clear and green. And so I also have custom made labels. And in the custom made labels, it tells you all you need to know about the product. It tells you our purpose as a family business. It tells you the ingredients, all the ingredients that are inside of the hand sanitizer, which is all CDC approved and FDA approved. And then for the face mask, we have different styles. So today I rocked my African Pride face mask. And also the face masks are very high quality. And we want to make sure that we're not just selling flimsy face masks that are not having, that are not protecting people when they go outside. These face masks actually have a pocket for filters. So they come with all natural carbon filters. And the filters go inside of the face mask, and the filter's purpose is supposed to sanitize the air around you. So we've actually done a couple of experiments to prove that the filter that we put in these masks actually work. And also the CDC also recommended that if you're wearing a face mask, you should have a filter in your face mask. But where can you get a face mask with a filter? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah. So definitely come to me if you need high quality face masks, if you need hand sanitizers. I mean, we sell door-to-door service. We don't have a pickup spot. Let me see.
And show us on how we find you, your phone number, your email address, your IG. What's up? How we get at you?
I got you. So on Facebook, I'll show you right now. There's Maze Clan hand sanitizer. Now, if you search up Maze Clan hand sanitizer on Facebook, just search up Maze Clan hand sanitizer.
So that's MAYS.
Yes, MAYSCLAN, and then you say hand sanitizer.
Okay. Maze Clan.
Yes.
Maze Clan.
Within placing your order, we deliver within 48 hours.
Okay.
So it's all door-to-door service. We deliver within 48 hours.
That's great. That's great. All right. So that's Maze Clan hand sanitizer.
Yes.
On Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. There you go, our entrepreneur here. So Paola, I'm gonna go to you next. If you could share with us your contact info and how can people help support the initiative that you are focusing on. Oh, we can't hear you.
I know now. Okay,
Yeah.
so first I just wanted to call out for those people who live in the community and know a senior who are level 3 and level 4. Meaning if there is a senior who you see they have a hard time walking or getting things done by their own, please, you can share my phone number. We wanted to be able and provide some resources as well, some food if they need it. And again, I would love to keep working very close with the community, especially seniors, because that's I believe that's my call. And I just provide my phone numbers. It's 857-318-4003. And again, if you need any resource for food or someone to come and buy their the food for them as well, we can send someone and help them. Okay, so feel free to contact me, share my information, and we're just here to help seniors. That's
Thank
what we do.
Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna go to Councilor Flynn.
Well, thank you. And again, just want to say thank you, Councilor Mejia, for inviting me to be your guest, to join your other guests as well. And if anyone needs to reach me, you can get me at ed.flynn@boston.gov. That's my email address. Please give me an email. Again, just want to say thank you. It was an honor to be with you and with your guests, and it was an informative discussion. And I hope it helps some people that are listening on how to maybe navigate the system so that they can get support that they need. But we're lucky to have so many activists in the city, such as Miss Shirley, that have been around for a while, but they're always helping a lot of people, especially people in need. So just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you. And now I think everybody has gone. I'll just say, you know, in the spirit of just community, our whole idea is just to create space for people to have these conversations. It was nothing deep, you know, we didn't solve the world's problems, but I think that by coming together and giving a little bit of ourselves, that is part of the healing process. That's part of our journey. That is how we learn, and it's through sharing. And so I'm really grateful to each and every one of you for taking the time to connect with our audience, to share a little bit of yourselves with all of us. We always close out with resources for the community. What I asked Brady, who is part of our team, to do is to do some research on different resources that exist across the entire intergenerational spectrum of things, right? So no matter how old you are, there's something for everybody. So we're gonna share those on the screen. Next week, our conversation is we're still casting, but looking ahead, we're doing, I think, LGBTQ, then we're doing something around distance learning, and the inequities of long distance learning for a lot of students. So we have a lot of conversations that are coming down the pipeline. If you have an idea or a group of individuals that we need to focus on, please make sure that you share with us. Our office phone number is 617-635-4217, and you can always email us at julia.mejia, that's MEJIA, at boston.gov. And as always, it's a pleasure to be in community with people who are deeply committed to serving others. I am grateful for the opportunity to have spent this evening with you. My daughter went to go play Fortnite, so she will not be saying goodbye, but she made an appearance, and I'm glad that she got to engage with us. And so here are some of the resources that we're sharing. For housing, there's a youth aid connector, Age Strong resources, mutual aid groups.
I also have a second slide too with more resources
Okay.
that I'll pull up.
So go ahead, technical guru. Show the screen.
All right.
So for folks sitting at home, you could take a picture of this screenshot and share it with your networks.
And this next one right here.
Yep. It's more food access for young people, food access for 55 and over, and unemployment. Unemployment has been a big issue for us. We have been yielding a lot of phone calls and trying to help people navigate that. So I'm glad that we have a link to share. So it is without further ado that I'd like to say, I love you, you love me. No, I'm not gonna sing the song, but I just wanna say thank you so much for joining us tonight, and and for all that you do and all that you have always done for the people of this city. And thank you. I look forward to one day giving you a hug. But for right now, it's just virtual love, okay? Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.